Hello. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics, food. And we're especially going to talk about pizza. So, is it possible to eat pizza, which is one of certainly America's favorite foods and certainly probably the world's favorite foods, to eat pizza and still be able to maintain your energy, your mental clarity, your waistline, your hormone balance, and overall health? Millions and millions of people proclaim that pizza is their favorite food. And one of the fears they have about quote unquote getting healthier, changing their diet to a healthier way of eating, is that, oh my God, I won't be able to eat pizza anymore. So, what is it about pizza that is so amazingly attractive to people? Why is it that we love it? Well, I'm Italian. I grew up in New York City. Pizza places were on every corner, and I grew up loving pizza. So, what can we do? So, I'm Dr. Ritamarie, and I help people to maintain and regain their health and their hormone balance using the power of food and nutrients. And I teach health and wellness practitioners how to do that for their patients. We're tired of the broken healthcare system, but I'm also tired of the people on Facebook and the people on all the platforms saying, oh, here's all you have to do and you can just keep eating your favorite foods. Generally speaking, they don't mean what I mean when I say that. Yes, you can keep eating your favorite foods. Yes, you can keep eating ice cream and pizza and pasta and all those other things that we all love, cookies, brownies, etc. We just have to learn to make them in ways that support health instead of deplete health. So let's dissect pizza a little bit and just kind of talk a little bit about why it is so yummy. So, pizza is generally some sort of crust. Generally speaking, it's a white flour, gluten containing crust. And then on top of it is spread tomato sauce, generally not fresh made tomato sauce, generally from a can or a jar, but it could be perfectly healthy. Some of them have added sugars. And then it's loaded with cheese on top, usually mozzarella cheese, but it could be other kinds of cheese. And then there's the toppings. As a kid, I grew up eating plain pizza, didn't need toppings. But as I grew up and learned that there were other things besides just cheese, I really started to like other things. Most people, when they top a pizza, it's with sausage, pepperoni, it could be meatballs. Generally, it's not with kale. Generally, it's not with vegetables, which could give it kind of its redeeming quality. But what if you can eat a pizza without the damaging effects of the gluten and the dairy, which is mucus forming, and the dangerous effects that both of those have on gut health and then predisposing to autoimmunity? What if we could eat a pizza that was really good for us? What if we could eat a pizza, savor the amazing taste, and eat it well? So there's someone out on the social media platforms, I won't name names, who says, as long as you get the order right of the foods you eat in a meal, you don't have to worry about it. You could just keep eating your favorite foods. I'm an expert in glucose and insulin metabolism, metabolic health, and I know that that's not true. I've worked with thousands of people to help them to measure the effects of various foods on their blood sugar. And I'm just going to say, some people are more sensitive than others. And maybe this person has only worked with people who are not so sensitive, who don't have a lot of genetic tendencies, who didn't grow up eating Kool-Aid and M&Ms like I did, and a lot of people I know. And so their glucose doesn't get affected. But I know for a fact that if you wear a glucose meter for a while and you prick your finger, you're going to notice that certain foods raise your sugar and other foods don't. And yours might be very different from someone else's. So to blanketly say you can just keep eating your favorite foods as long as you do it with the carbs at the end is really irresponsible, because it's giving people a message that is not in alignment with them being their healthiest possible. So I'm going to talk to you today in particular about pizza. I could have a similar call on ice cream, and maybe I will. And maybe I'll do some of these in my kitchen where I would show you how to make these foods. And I'm happy to do that. Just put in the chat if that's something that you want to do, if that's something you would show up for and be interested in. So pizza, pizza, pizza. Why do we love it? It's got that soft, bready sensation to the crust. It's got that gooey, ooey feeling in your mouth from the cheese and that stretchiness. And then, of course, if you do the toppings, you've got the toppings and the salty savoriness of that. So what if you could do it differently? So what if instead of that crust being white flour, it was whole wheat flour? Would that make it better? To an extent, yeah, but to people like me and others like me who are gluten intolerant, or people with autoimmune diseases where we know that gluten gets in the way, not a much better option, right? For people with blood sugar imbalances, it's still flour and it raises blood sugar almost as much or more than the white flour variety. So then you can switch to a whole grain, non-gluten crust. You can switch to quinoa or buckwheat or some of the others. But what I've found in my, over a decade and testing thousands of people is that most people don't respond well to the non-gluten crusts, right? They're still high glycemic. They still raise your blood sugar. So what's a poor person to do? Well, cauliflower has become the hero of the day. Those of you who have had a cauliflower pizza crust know that it's pretty darn good depending on who makes it. And it's healthful depending again on who makes it. There are some of them that have eggs in them. I can't eat eggs. I'm sensitive to it. There's some people who won't eat eggs because, they're vegan, plant-based, and others just don't like having eggs in things, right? So if you're going to buy one, watch the labels, right? So one of them that I found I really like, cauliflower foods. They only have one version, the plant-based version that doesn't have eggs or cheese in the crust itself. And it's delicious. And you can buy them and keep them frozen in your freezer. The other option for cauliflower crust is to make it yourself. So I love to get in the kitchen and play and experiment and throw things in the food processor and create these amazing foods out of them. And a lot of times they're breads or crackers or things like that. So if you take take a head of cauliflower, put it in your food processor and get it ground down a bit, and then add a variety of nuts and seeds, high nutrient density nuts and seeds to that. It could be chia seeds or flax seeds, which have a gumminess to them, but it can also be some Brazil nuts and some walnuts and almonds. I like to look at a variety of those to give me the benefits, the omega-3 fats and the various minerals that are in different types. So you throw all this into the blender, you add some seasonings if you want. You could just add some salt. You could add Italian seasoning and have an Italian flavored pizza crust. Whatever you do, then you can take it out and you can either bake it in the oven, short period of time, 5 to 10 minutes, or you can go and use a dehydrator, which is what I like to do because I like to keep the nutrients intact. When you heat things too much, it causes breakdown of the nutrients, right? Especially the fats. So I take these crusts and I put them in my dehydrator, and 12 to 24 hours later, I check them out. I have a pizza crust. Let me tell you, every person I have served my cauliflower pizza to love it. They think it's phenomenal. In fact, most of them don't even realize that it's a cauliflower crust. They just see it's interesting, right? They're so delicious. So you have now your crust. And the best thing to do is to make a bunch of them in advance, right? So you make up a bunch of them, you put them in Ziploc bags or whatever your favorite storage is. There's these there's silicone bags. There's all kinds of things if you don't want to use the plastic, which I totally understand. We use silicone bags. And you put them in the freezer and they last for months. I literally took one out after a year and a half. Said, oh, I forgot I had that in there, and made a pizza out of it. It was phenomenal. So now you have your crust. So what about the rest of it? Well, for the sauce, you could still buy a jar of tomato sauce. There's a number of them on the market that don't have sugar and other preservatives in them, but read carefully. You don't want sugar in your tomato sauce. If you're going to eat sugar, eat it in something else that's a little bit more noticeable, that you're going to have more enjoyment from. But like, you can leave it out of the pizza sauce or the tomato sauce. I personally make my own generally. I take a bunch of tomatoes, I put them in the food processor. Roma tomatoes seem to work the best. They're less watery and more hefty. And I mix it in with some basil and oregano, Italian seasonings. Sometimes I put a little bit of dried tomato powder in there to thicken it up a little bit, not necessary. And now you have the sauce. So what I usually do is I take the pizza crust and then I put the cheese on first so that the sauce doesn't drain through. So let me tell you how to do that. So cheese, right? Cheese is usually made from the cow's milk, and you can get a better cheese. You can get organic cheese, and you can get goat's milk cheese or sheep's milk cheese, which are lower in the casein that tends to stuff things up, sinuses, gut, etc. So, or you can make a non-dairy cheese. There's a lot of them out on the market. Some are better than others. There's mozzarella out on the market. There are some local shops, like here in Austin, there's a place here called Rebel Cheese. And Rebel Cheese sells all kinds of cheeses that are plant-based. They have a mozzarella that melts. They have a feta. They have all kinds of cheese. Personally, most of the time, because I do buy their cheese, but I like it so much I'd rather eat it, I will make a cheese. And I'll usually take some sort of nuts and seeds. I like macadamia cashew is my favorite. If you can't get access to those or they're too expensive, you can do it with others. Pine nuts are super expensive, so I never put those in my cheese. I put them in the blender, and then I add some lemon juice. I add a little bit of salt. I add water, blend it up, and it makes more of a creamy type of a cheese. If you want it to have a little bit more of that gooey, ooey stretchiness to it, you can actually add a little bit of psyllium husk to it, or something called konjac powder. Easy to find. You can just buy it at any of your local health food stores or online. And now I've got a cheese. And so I put the cheese on the crust, and then I put some of the tomato sauce on that. And then I think about toppings. So, what kind of toppings can you get that are energizing? So far, this is like a super energizing meal, right? Compared to standard pizza. So, what else can I put on there? Well, sometimes I'll take like kale or arugula or some other green, and I chop it up fine in the food processor. And then I sprinkle that on top of the tomato, and it looks kind of like basil, right? Sometimes what I do is I'm sneaky and I put it on the bottom. So I put the cheese, and then I put the kale or whatever green I'm using, and then I put the tomato sauce on. And then what other kind of toppings? Well, olives are great. Um, you can use bits of sauerkraut, actually. And when you chop them up small, they kind of look like the pepperoni or meat, whatever people are generally used to. You can put bits of any kind of vegetable. Chopped onions are really good. Mushrooms are awesome. So the sky's the limit as to what your toppings are. And typically, once I've put the toppings on, then I just sprinkle a little bit more of the tomato sauce, not to completely cover the toppings, but just to blend in well. And then I put a little bit more of the cheese and, kind of move it around. It looks phenomenal. It looks fantastic. I'll see if I can find a picture and we'll post it here and on the Facebook chat or in the YouTube chat. But it looks so good. And there's your pizza. Now, you could put it in the oven for 5 to 10 minutes to bake it if you want. Watch it carefully. Or you can stick it in the dehydrator, and usually that'll take longer. So if I'm in a hurry, I'll put it in the oven and put it in there for probably an hour or two, just on a low setting, just to warm it up. And the other option is to eat it cold, right? So whatever you choose, it's not really cold at this point. It's kind of room temperature, but whatever your choice is, you've got a pizza. I have pictures of these on my cell phone because I'm always taking pictures, and people just like swoon over it. I've had people over for dinner and they swoon over it. They go, "This is healthy for me." We had made some of this once for a birthday party when my kids were little, and this little boy kept coming over for pizza, more pizza, more pizza, more pizza, because he loved it so much. So it even satisfies the children. So pizza can go from being a blah food that your taste buds love, but the rest of your body doesn't. That leaves you feeling exhausted, tired, and unmotivated afterwards. That clogs up your sinuses, clogs up your digestive tract. Or you can make pizza in such a way that it's loaded with vegetables. It's loaded with good nuts and seeds with omega-3 fats and minerals and everything that your body needs. And you can have this just blissful experience. So, pizza for energy, yes, you can eat pizza for energy. For those of you who want more recipes like this, I actually have a recipe for this in my, I have a membership called the Nutrition Lab. And we call it a lab because we want you to experiment on yourself and find out what works. So if you go to bodyfreedomnutritionlab.com, you can check it out there. We'll put the link in the chat or in the comments. I think we might have like a 2 weeks for free or 2 weeks for $10 kind of membership to check it out. And it's loaded with recipes for cheeses, recipes for pizza, recipes for gluten substitutes. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds, probably well over 1,000 recipes and recipe demos in there. So check it out. We'll have the link down below. And if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. I'll do more of this. I like to alternate between videos about food, videos about health conditions and how you can solve them with food and lifestyle. And I look forward to seeing you. If you want to attend any of our events, just go down into the chat, grab a link, and sign up, and we'll tell you about our events, which we have multiple events online, so you don't have to leave home. And great job. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.